Part of it, yeah. Those are the, take one pass.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I don't think there was any underpinning of something.
No, I understand.
They were really going at it.
So, do I have your...
Sure. I went both of you, I was a little shocked. Of course, he was set up in that little teeny room, and the electric company, like, and it filled up with standing room among it. Yeah, there were always filing cabinets around you.
You got everybody here? No, Leslie's not here.
Leslie's not here. Yeah, no.
Yep.
That's good. There's a...
She's still on for 3 years.
Oh, yeah, she was talking about calling in. If,
Yeah, I talked to her today, and I explained to her
No
what was
reason
happening.
to call in,
So she
no.
said, is it okay if I don't call in then? And I said, yes.
Yeah. Okay, guys, why don't we get started here? I'm going to turn off my phone. It's embarrassing in my phone. We ready? Is everything fired up and ready to go? Okay. Okay, so let's begin the Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting for January 29th, 2014. With our usual reminders to please turn off your cell phones and to take any extra conversations out into the hall. It's going to be a bit of an unusual meeting tonight, and we'll let Jeff explain sort of what's going on.
So, for those who weren't here last week was our regularly scheduled meeting on the 22nd of January, and with the blizzard and all, and I know I was stuck off island, and a number of other people that were participating in the meeting weren't there. The decision was made by the chair and consulting with the rest of the commission to cancel last week's meeting. On my fault, the cancellation notice that was posted didn't include the date that we were canceling to. We didn't know what it was at the time. We just simply canceled the meeting. And since our things continue to date certain, so when you continue in the applicant request to continue to say January the 22nd, the public is then aware of the date that's been continued forward to. So after a lot of discussion yesterday and today and some talks with town administration and those folks, we felt it was probably the best idea, instead of hearing things new, the notices tonight as part of the public hearing, since they weren't continued to this date specifically, and the meeting was just posted on Monday, we felt it was a better idea to, especially since we have a meeting, our regular previously scheduled meeting next week, to simply take the public hearings kind of en masse and then continue them forward, provide that notice to the public at this meeting, that those will be heard and testimony will be taken then again on the 5th of February. So to try to be hopefully as noticeable as possible that those will be resuming their regular discussions. And I spoke with all of the applicants today for all of those hearings, and no one had any objection to that process. So there aren't people that feel they got inadvertently excluded by not knowing there was a makeup meeting. Looking at our regularly posted yearly schedule, we felt this was the best way to go. So,
how did this matter come up?
With the cancellation, or
with the idea of not really doing the hearings tonight?
It came up in the discussions that we haven't really dealt with a cancellation before, and we're trying to figure out how that related to our requirements and our open meeting law requirements. And this was decided that this was the best course of action to be as compliant as possible with open meeting law.
This meeting that we're in right now is properly posted under the open meeting law, correct?
Correct. This one is. However, the last time...
Those that were continued until last week, the 22nd, were
Correct.
continued until last week, the 22nd. They weren't continued to the 22nd or a subsequent meeting. They were just continued to the 22nd.
Correct.
Yeah. I ask those questions, Mr. Chairman, because I think it's sort of the same as the discussion. I know that I was way outvoted. We don't have to dwell on it for a whole long time, but the discussion we had, around the Codford's Park about whether to continue that hearing or whether to kind of close the hearing, and here we are again this afternoon, but whether to proceed with the business at hand or whether to defer it till some other time, and while we certainly want to be in compliance with all the laws and all of our standards, then I think there comes a point that you're in compliance with the laws and the standards, and if somebody might have their feelings hurt if we proceed with the business at hand, I think sometimes you have to, I don't know what we're building for ourselves for a week from now. We're going to have a marathon meeting of 6 or 8 hours long, or what are we going to do then?
I don't think it will be that bad.
So,
Myself, but-
I just
Are you
make those
offering to bring
observations.
dinner, Mike?
I'm sorry?
You're offering to bring dinner?
No, but I think maybe a recess at dinner time would be in order.
Okay, so, with that said, all of the notices of intent, Farrell trustees, 77 Eel Point Road, the Land Bank at 4 Codfish Park, Coffee, 24 Long Pond Drive, Swains Point, NT at 260 Pulpus Road, La Bombard, 62 West Chester Street, 5 Crow's Nest, NT, 5 Crow's Nest Way, Hoffman, 79 Grant Ave, Fab Act 2 LLC, 15 Loretta Lane, Kaplan, 37 Holbert Ave, the Town of Nantucket, and SBPF at 85 through 107A Baxter Road, and SBPF Baxter Road Area Multiple are all continued until February 5th. And we apologize if somebody made a special trip to get here for that, but as Jeff explained, we feel this is the way we can do this in best compliance with the state laws and to be fair to everybody who may have an interest in those topics.
We're going to vote that, please, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
We're going to vote the continuance. I object to doing it this way, so just as soon we vote it.
Okay, well, so we'll have, I guess if there is an objection, we'll have to take a vote. Do I have a motion to, or I don't know how we do this.
You
but-
just make a motion to continue as you just stated.
Okay. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries with Commissioner Glowacki opposed.
Yeah. I do apologize. I tried to get in touch with as many people as I could today to let them know that that was coming.
Okay, so orders of conditions. We have one that we have to issue tonight, Golds.
Correct. This is one from the closed
Goldsmith.
public hearing last time. This was the project that was the sand drift fencing along Pocono that connects to that other existing project with the dune nourishment and plantings.
Okay.
Do you have the file?
What's that?
Do you have the file?
Yes.
Just trying to remember if this is one with the big poster or not.
I think this was the one with the
Yeah.
post, yeah.
Oh,
We did get those posts, that are in the ground now for 5-inch posts. That's correct. I was just gonna have that reflect in the project description that the post would be installed. Or a condition at the bottom, it would be number 22, that the post installed be no larger than 5 inches.
Okay, that was
That's
my
what
question.
is currently existing.
I know some other ones around the island are more like 8-inch, so.
Different environment, the
Different
eel
areas.
points,
Yeah,
for the
eel
record, Paul
points.
Santos, Nantucket Sayers. Eel Point, majority of them are 8-inch. The budding project we did to this, it is a continuation of the 5-inch posts, which is a little bit lower profile and different environment on this end of the island than it is on the Eel Point side. So.
Okay.
Glad I asked.
Anything else to, one condition is, that seemed like our one big issue down there.
Okay, this is including dune rebuilding and
Beach grass planting. Okay. If there's no other questions or concerns, do I have a motion to issue as amended?
So moved.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Okay, that takes us down to minor mods. Lucas at 147 Walwinet Road. I think you can start.
For the record, I'm Blackmore Associates. I'm before you tonight to request a minor modification for the project at 147 Wildwood Road, which is one of the properties out north of the inn. The only change to this plan is the addition of a label, and we're adding the label that specifies the lowest structural member because the project is located within a coastal dune. We've had another one or two of these in the last couple of months. It has to do with the change in the building codes that before the building commissioner will issue a building permit for construction within a dune resource area, the elevation of the lowest structural member must be specified. So we'll be sure to do this on future plans going forward to not need the minor modification. So that you know the lowest member is 11.7, which far exceeds the flood zones. On the Atlantic Ocean side, the flood zone is 10, and on the harbor side, it's 7. So we're outside of the flood zone, but we are in the dune resource area.
It seems pretty straightforward.
Did they need to see that?
We've got it on our iThingies.
This is actually the third time we've had this similar minor mod with the building code change, so.
Move to issue the minor mod.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Okay, and we had a
Certificates.
certs, yeah, so no amended orders. Okay, Jeff, certs. Jabo, 41 Hulbert Ave.
Sure, so 41 Holbert Ave, this was the work, you guys remember 41 Holbert, I just want to pass it later on, I know it's in the packet as well. That was for the construction of a deck and steps within the buffer zone to the man-made coastal bank and within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Upon our site inspection, I would recommend that it was built in compliance with the order of conditions.
Okay, do I have a motion to issue the order of the cert of compliance?
Move to issue?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Great Harbor Yacht Club, 98 Washington Street, and Salt Marsh Way. Oh, and there's three of them.
There's 3 of them, yeah.
There's 3 of them, but they're for different things.
Okay.
Do you want to come give me a hand with this, because I don't want to get too much. Leo's the real expert.
Oh, we didn't do that, did we?
We've done our site inspection, but I mix up what parts go in which order.
Okay, 1665, we're asking for a partial certificate of compliance, and the reason for that is we still have some outstanding work. We came in for a modification to rebuild the walk last summer, and that's still outstanding. We still have an issue with fuel. Originally, there was an on-site fuel tank which was eliminated. The thing was structurally not kosher, let's put it that way. And the yacht club has contracted 60,000 tanks for mobile service. They have had permits issued by the town for on an on-call basis. And the other reason why we're leaving it open is when I get to the pier portion, I'll explain to you that what we're really trying to do here is to get a partial certificate of compliance for the pier, because Chapter 91 said that they would issue us complete certificate of compliance for the pier, even though the commission only issued the partial. And the fuel kind of goes hand in hand with that as well. So for 1665, which is the land side portion, we're asking for a partial because of the work we still need to do on Brick Walk, and we need to resolve the fueling issue with Chapter 91 as well, which they're all aware of. Both the board members and Peter Sullivan, who designed the pier, has had conversations with Ben Lynch and with the staff at DEP waterways, and they're aware of what we're doing, and they're fine with it. They just asked us to proceed, so they can issue the Chapter 91 certificate of compliance for the pier itself. The last order of conditions was a separate one, was a separate order issued for the area that's within the balloon area that's on town land. It was a separate notice of intent, and that is the storm treat system that was put in to handle both the on-site and Washington Street extension runoff. So there was a separate notice of intent filed because it was done for the town itself. And I did talk with the selectmen's office. They're aware that we were coming in to get the total release of it. There's no changes for it. There is obviously an ongoing maintenance of the facility, even to the point that we have to open and close the gate every once a year so it doesn't seize up. We've had problems with large gates, $35,000 gate that's in there, and the staff have to open and close it once or twice a year to keep it from seizing up. So that's in a nutshell. We're asking for both the water side, which is 1670 and 1665, partial certificate of compliance, and the full for 2013, which is the portion of the drainage system that's on the town land.
Okay. Well, Jeff, would it be best if we did these individually then?
Yes, because I have different parts to each one of those.
Okay. SD 481665.
Sure, so I would recommend that it's a partial certification for all of the work excluding the reconstruction of the brick walk and the fuel facility, right, Leo spoke of. And then for that one, I also have recommended 2 ongoing conditions that relate to the operation and maintenance of all of the on-site drainage systems that are there, and the cleaning and regular maintenance of those that are required by the law.
Okay. Do I have that motion to issue that partial certification of compliance with the ongoing conditions?
Move to issue?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we go to SC 481670.
I'm making the same recommendation for 1670, with the exception of, I'll hit you with the numbers, but recommending that we have ongoing conditions, and I can read or go through as many as you like. Ongoing conditions 20, 21, 28 through 32, and then 40 through 45. Just never did. I get 2 conditions all the way to 45. Just to kind of encapsulate, number 20 is, excuse me, and the partial certification would be for all the work, again, excluding, they still are working ongoing on the eelgrass mitigation as part of that, and then also are still working on converting all of the moorings from the mushroom moorings to the helical moorings. So 20 and 21, those conditions relate primarily towards the success rate of the eelgrass mitigation requirements. And then 28 through 32. 28 is just the requirements for the maintenance of the pump out facility. 29 is the storm haul out with the planning board. 30 is that no storage of fuel shall be allowed on the pier and float facilities. 31, seasonal floats shall be removed prior to October 15th and shall remain out of the water until April 15th. And then 32, seasonal storage facilities, seasonal floats shall be stored outside of all wetland resource areas at a minimum of 50 feet from any wetlands. 40 through 45. 40 is the all bottom anchors shall consist of helical anchors with Galacki caps or equivalent as approved by the harbor master. 41, minimum clearance of 24 inches at mean low water shall be maintained. 42, no living aboard vessels that are tied to the pier and dock. And 43, no vessels shall be allowed to idle at pier, dock, or float facilities for more than 15 minutes. 44, all overboard discharge facilities openings shall be sealed by the dock master upon tie-up to the pier, dock, and float facilities. And then number 5 is no boat shall remain tied to the pier, dock, and float facilities during a storm event deemed by the harbor master. So they kind of relate to the ongoing use of the facilities that are there.
Okay. So this is another partial certificate?
Correct.
Okay.
1670 is a partial cert because they still have that eelgrass work to finish and then the mooring replacements to complete.
Okay, so do I have a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance for Great Harbor Yacht Club, SC 48-1670, with ongoing conditions 20 and 21, 28 through 32, and 40 through 45?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we have Great Harbor Yacht Club, SC 48-2013.
This is the one that, this is also the one, this is for a complete certification, and I'm recommending that with the ongoing condition that's in here. Again, this is solely for the installation and maintenance of the storm treat systems that's there. I'm recommending that the complete certification be issued with ongoing condition number 20, which is the maintenance requirement for those stormwater facilities.
Okay, do I have that motion?
Who's responsible for the maintenance?
The maintenance is kind of a joint effort between the club and the Department of Public Works. I can read that condition if you want. So, number 20, maintenance of these stormwater management facilities shall be the responsibility of the Great Harbor Yacht Club and shall be in accordance with the Great Harbor Yacht Club Drainage System Ownership and Maintenance Plan dated February 5th of 2004. All maintenance activities require prior written notification to and prior written sign-off from the Director of the Town of Nantucket Department of Public Works.
Thanks.
Move to issue?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Okay. I'm going to bounce back to the public meeting for just a bit here because we forgot to do public comment. Anything from the public on matters that aren't before the commission this evening? Okay, thanks. Give me a second here. Okay, back to the public hearing, the emergency certification extension for the Town of Nantucket and Wisconsin Beach Preservation Fund, 91 through 105 Baxter Road.
All right. I put this on primarily because it had come in and it had come up. It kind of came up while I was away, and I apologize for that. But kind of an update item. For those, I know I sent it to everyone via email, but I made extra copies for everyone tonight. If they wanted a hard copy. During the time period that the emergency certification was open, Wisconsin Beach and the town ran up against the deadline for the project and had applied to through the state DEP. Excuse me. State DEP for an extension to that permit. They had asked for a 1-week extension to the DEP and had that extension granted by the DEP to complete work on that project. I don't know, Sarah, can you give a little update on the project? Not to put you on the spot.
The three television tubes have been completed, they are installed, and as of a week ago Monday, the sand envelope has been begun. There's between 50 and 100 trucks a day bringing the sand to create the template, and that should be completed in the next week or so.
All right, thank you. So, in our process here, we also received this letter. We were copied on that, and I apologize for being out of town. But we have the open public hearings on that, and the certification that we issued has technically ended, with the exception of we allow for the ongoing maintenance, primarily of the sand. Our local bylaw also doesn't really provide a provision to extend emergency permits. The extensions of permits that we issue are 3 1-year extensions that we issue as related to orders of conditions. So that puts us in a little bit of a quandary on how we want to take action. We can either try to continue the regular permitting process and allow them to maintain what was permitted by the original certification, to maintain the sand that was required through the conditioning on the DEP matter. We can discuss recertifying the emergency and doing it that way, or we can just let the DEP certification kind of, and the extension that's already passed the 25th get covered. So we're kind of a little bit of where
Yeah,
we,
we're kind of in a
of what
hold.
action this board wants to take. Either that, or if you really, other options are involved. If you feel that work is being done outside of the permit or the permit window, you can also take an enforcement action. So those are kind of the choices that we have.
If we did an enforcement action, it would be to require them basically to complete the sand template, because that's
Correct.
a critical component of the project.
Correct. I mean, that's the conditions that we have when you look especially at the last page of the packet I just handed out to you. That's the original DEP conditions. They have the requirement in there for the sand template through there with the initial coverage of the 18 cubic yards, and then January through March to provide the remaining 4 cubic yards, and then they have their annual nourishment requirements down there. Those were included in the original certification, and they're allowed to maintain what was permitted under that certification. So,
Well, I guess what I want to know is that if we go, no matter which direction we go, there are still, we haven't actually discussed the finalization of the conditions on this temporary project.
that is correct.
And so when are we going to do that?
That would be as part of the next open
For the NOI?
public hearing for the notice of intent.
Okay.
Correct.
All
The
right.
final conditioning for the project, as it sits now, or however through that public hearing process, those conditions are put on, and whatever that final project ends up being has still yet to be finalized.
Okay, and the reason why I ask specifically is because I've brought with me some of the, it's attachment B, section 3, the fisheries resource from the NOI from the nourishment project dated March 9th, 2007. And basically, they did a side scan radar on, the areas adjacent to the bluff. And I would like these incorporated with regular testing into the NOI at the next public hearing. So should I introduce these in advance now so people get to see what I'm discussing, or wait until the next public hearing?
Sure. I mean, if you'd like to submit them, I can certainly put them into the record and include them for the next notice of intent.
All right, excellent.
sounds good.
So I'd like to,
So that way
I've actually
everyone
got 3
knows
copies
what
so
we're
people can have a look.
talking about.
If we're waiting to do these when they're actually officially submitted, or?
Well, okay, well, I'd like Cara to have a copy since she's here.
I'll give it, someone has extra.
Yeah,
I'll get her a
I've
copy.
got 3,
No,
so,
So that's going to be part of the public hearing for the next one, so I would say that the discussion of that information is probably
Should wait.
prudent
yes.
for.
right,
for
but
that
I
hearing.
wanted to introduce in advance so that people can get
Oh,
to
absolutely.
have a look at it and see whether they consider
I
it
think
a
information in
sensible
advance is
suggestion.
always the best way to go, so everyone has a chance to see.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Can I ask a quick question on the, probably for Kara, how long will it take to do the 18 cubic yards of mitigation sand and sand on top? The sand envelope's only 2 feet, and by my math, that comes out to be 18 cubic feet, not cubic yards. And I see here the DEP gave you January and February to do all 18 cubic yards, and then by the end of the year, you have to do 22. But that's a third, the 2 feet's just a third. Do you have a estimate on how long to do?
I'd have to go to Cottage and Castle and ask them what the time schedule is for that, but I can get that for you.
Okay, I think we should have that for next week.
So currently, right now, just to be clear, the work that they're doing is in accordance with the conditions here. The state extension ended on the 25th of January as well. So all of the emergency certifications have ended. They're no longer there. It's where we are. It's just information that got submitted, and I couldn't think of a better place to put it. So this was what.
So do we need to take any action at all?
I'm
It's
not
up
sure
to you
we
guys.
can.
I mean, if you guys would like to take action, or you can simply address it through the public hearing process too.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Well, are there any legal ramifications to?
Well, the certifications have expired, and they have conditions from both here, because we attach the state conditions through a vote to our emergency certification, and the state's conditions as well are obviously on theirs. So the sand that they have in those conditions and the timing for that sand to go on, they're still within that window. The technical certification has expired. It's very similar to when you have your order of conditions and you've completed your work and you simply want to do your maintenance with any project, whether it's mowing a lawn or placing nourishment sand. That's what you're doing. You're doing that in a certain realm of compliance to that original permit.
That's why I brought it up. Is
Right.
the DEP certification, and I would guess the one we issued said that they had to have the tubes built, but they gave extra time for putting the sand on top, and I don't know how.
To be clear, the motion that this board made when they issued the emergency certification included the inclusion of the state conditions. I'm going to use those two words in a row, but that's so those conditions still apply to our certification. And just to be clear, both of those certifications have ended. They're now into maintenance and following sand protocol that's there. I would say as part of this, I know it's not really an extension at this point, but if there's any information that you would like to see, whether it be an as-built or things like that, as part of the other process, that this kind of follow-up would be a good time to.
That's a good idea, to have an as-built, what it really looks like when you're filling it. You know, they say it's going to be 45 feet diameter and 6 feet wide, and especially with survey heights.
Right, because my understanding is that the geotubes are not as high as was originally envisaged. Is that correct? Yeah.
So we should see that, yeah.
I would say so. And also, the last time I was out there, they hadn't actually done the returns. Well, that was a few days ago, so maybe it's changed. So,
That's important, too.
yeah.
Just a second, ma'am. I want to hear from the commission first.
If you're not near the microphones.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's perfect.
Sorry. Do you want me to repeat what I said? I was saying that the geotubes aren't as high as had been calculated in the original presentation, and also that the last time I checked, which was a few days ago, the returns hadn't been built. So at the ends of the geotubes to help with end scar. So.
I would be curious to know how much sand was excavated to put that bottom tube in, because the berm that was out there it looked huge.
Could we hold just a second, Mr. Chairman? I just want to renew or revisit what's taking place here procedurally. Over my objection, we decided to not have any public hearing this evening. And I don't think we ought to go wandering into a public hearing and start conversing with the applicant about what we're going to require, what we're going to require of them if we're not having the public hearing. If we're not within the public hearing, we can. I don't really object to what where you want to go, what information you want to need. But I think if we're not having the public hearing, let's not get into it.
Well, I guess I'm a bit confused, because I basically thought what we decided to do was to not have a public hearing on these items, which does include the on all of the notices of intent. But this is not one of the notices of intent that we continued. So I don't think we decided to not have a public hearing whatsoever. I think we just decided to continue all the notices of intent without hearing them.
Yes, what we're getting into now, we're going to next revisit this on the notice of intent. This is what Mr. Commissioner Golding asked, when we're going to get a chance to get at these questions, and the staff has said we're going to be doing that under the notice of intent, which is the hearing that we've continued and we're not having. And I just think we not ought to wander into that hearing.
Well, I don't think we're asking for feedback. I think all we're simply doing now is saying to the applicants, here's information we're going to want to see so they can come in and be ready next time, instead of they come in next time and then we ask these questions, and then we have to wait 2 weeks for the next hearing.
I guess to answer that is, I agree with Michael in the sense we don't want to wander into the hearing, but we had the request come in that the DEP extended it. We just closed out an emergency certification on the project. I think having a discussion on how this board wants to finalize and complete that with the conditions that were there, if there's any follow-up that the board would like to have in regards to that emergency certification, I think, isn't part of that public hearing. I mean, it's a certification that just finished.
Yeah, and an as-built would be,
And I agree, though, we don't want to, I mean, there's a bit of a fine line that,
Well, any of those things that we'd be requiring, we would require as part of issuing the emergency certification. If we're going to get into asking for other things from these people, the authority we're going to have to do it's going to be under the notice of intent. It's going to be within the public hearing that we're not having.
Okay. Well, in that case,
there's more on there. Is there any other follow-up action that the staff needs to take in regards to before that public hearing? Are we,
Well, do we have to formally take notice of the fact that they are continuing work that was supposed to be done under the emergency provision, just to formalize it?
well, I think it was more the acknowledgement that they've entered into the sand template and maintenance phase of that project, and that the
Okay.
certification for the construction to abate the emergency, that formal certification date has passed and that has ended.
But, I mean, construction hasn't actually finished. I mean, unless I'm not understanding this correctly.
those returns would be part of the...
Right,
Correct.
all right.
and this
So-
gets really confusing if they're required under the emergency certification to do work that extends past 30 days. I mean, it's required in the conditions that DEP said and we seconded to
Correct.
do this, complex, long-term nourishment. So maybe it's already implied in the orders that we issued. I don't know.
It's not implied, it's spelled right, it's
spelled
directly
right
spelled
out
out.
in
Yeah,
the
it's
emergency
spelled out.
cert.
It's explicitly there, saying this is what you'll do.
But then that contradicts the fact that the work has to be done in 30 days, so I don't know,
Well, those are the conditions that are in place.
yep.
So, I don't want to put words in mouth, but it sounds like,
I think asking for an as-built and getting an idea of how this was executed is a reasonable
okay.
request.
I will,
Just how did it go? And that's true for anyone. If we asked them to move a house, we'd say, how did you move it? Did it?
That's true in a
That's-
case where there's a notice of intent and somebody's going to come in for a certificate of compliance. And then as part of that, there would be an as-built. I don't really object to us asking for an as-built, but procedurally, I believe that our authority to do that would be within the public hearing under the notice of intent. They're going to want to get action on the notice of intent. We can require it then. To require it to take a vote to not have the hearing and then to start in on having the hearing, I just think we're going down a very
Well, I think maybe
muddy
another way
place.
to put it is, if they're coming in with the notice of intent, we want to know what existing conditions are.
They're all here and they
they're
heard
gonna-
that. Yeah,
they'll
they can hear what
have to
we're
bring
asking.
that in.
They're going to know they're going to face this question.
Yep.
We don't need to take any votes or make any,
Okay, then let's just go back to, what do we want, are we going to handle this procedurally?
well, you
Just
can,
to
you can
let it
choose to take
slide?
no action at this point.
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all in favor of basically no action?
Well, the action we're taking is recognizing that the emergency certification is expired. It's not necessarily no action. We're not issuing a new one, and we're not extending it, so that is no action.
That's a no action.
And I would agree.
But I was on the impression that we couldn't extend it.
We can't anyway,
We
so...
can't
I-
extend it.
Yeah.
Right, and we can't then go on to a second phase, because, like so.
So,
So it's the Nelsonian blind eye.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'll second the no action.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that motion to do nothing carries unanimously.
Which is rare for us.
Yeah. Great, okay. Thanks for everybody's patience with this. Okay, that takes us to other business. Reports, CPC.
Minimal.
Okay.
Minimal.
NPEDC.
We had a meeting, but no issues for Concom.
Okay. Mosquito control?
We just had a meeting a couple of days ago, and we're working on the public presentations and some educational material based on what was done last year and what they're planning this year.
Okay. Coastal management plan.
Just had a meeting on that Monday, and we're getting close to having a final plan. Our next meeting will be February 10th, I think is the right date. And we're getting close to having a final plan on that. We're including a lot of maps and information from DEP on shoreline change rates and on slosh zones, surge areas, and FEMA. So we're looking at, we're getting close to being done on that. And as soon as we get a draft copy, I'll submit it officially to the Concom at one of our meetings.
Okay. Any other committee type stuff? Okay, commissioners' comments.
Well, I do, Mr. Chairman, of course. Just for clarity on in closing out, as we opened up, I know I had some observations. We took a vote. We didn't really, well, I'm not sure that I made all the points that I would make on that. And so I just wanted to reiterate my objection. Last Wednesday, the 22nd, our regular meeting was canceled unavoidably due to weather. This Friday, we're all on notice, this past Friday, we were all on notice about trying to get a new meeting scheduled, to make up meeting schedule for today, and we all looked at our calendars and administratively fiddled around. That's okay. On Sunday, the meeting agenda in the 162-page packet was posted on the web. And then at 9:30 this morning, we heard that there is some suggestion about an open meeting law violation, which we want to be very careful about. And then at 4 o'clock, we heard that, yes, we would be fully compliant with the open meeting law to go ahead with the thing. And so it's confusing to me what took place between Sunday, when the 162-page packet got posted, and 9:30 this morning, and whether or not it would be a violation of the open meeting law to proceed. And then we sort of went ahead and started wandering into the hearing, as it were. So I'm just wanted to get those points out and as to what my objection was, and I will be curious to know what took place between Sunday and 9:30 this morning, if we can get to that.
I'm assuming town council gave Jeff advice that that we needed to be in compliance with the open meeting law. It makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we asked about that at 4 o'clock, and there would be no violation of the open meeting law to go forward. There was no open meeting law issue about this.
That's not the explanation that I received today
From
the assistant town manager and town council.
Well, we don't have to drag it out for we can if you want to. We don't have to. I just want to say that from the information we have here, something's not adding up is what I want to say. And I find it curious. I've got my ideas as to what it is, but maybe we want to leave it at that and revisit it sometime if anybody wants to.
Well, hopefully this is a very rare occurrence. And,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of canceling meetings. So.
Yeah, I mean, we want to have as many people here for the hearing as possible.
We're not doing too badly here
Yeah.
for a meeting that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Could I ask just a question about that, please?
Yeah, go ahead. You're still in the
If
public.
you know you're not going to have the meeting, is there some way on the town website you can tell people that it's not going to happen? Because we don't get any information from the town itself or from the owners. You know, I've been planning to come to this meeting ever since it was first posted.
Yeah.
And here I am, for no good reason.
Yeah.
I can say the continuations of these hearings were posted up on the town website earlier today. I know they were. I mean, there's.
There's probably
I'm
not
sorry,
a lot of
Bam,
stuff.
but
Yeah.
you know, we're all sitting here rather bemused and wondering what happened. So,
Bemused?
No,
Bemused.
No, I'm not holding any ill will against anyone. I realize we're all human, you know,
Yeah, and and then we're talking about postponing the thing in order to be more accommodating, and it looks to me like we're actually less accommodating by postponing it.
I agree with Mr. Gillette.
Well, I think for some people we probably are, but it's difficult to say.
Yeah, I would be curious to know who they are.
Yeah.
Yes, who we postponed this for.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, Mr. Administrator.
I do have a couple things. One of them primarily is the other reason why Kara and Silvio came tonight, and they asked if they could steal a couple minutes of time, is they're getting ready to continue moving forward with the Consu Springs project, and they haven't filed their application yet to do it. I think they just wanted to give us an update where they were. I know that project has been kind of ongoing through the board.
Hi.
Thank you for letting us listen some moments here. The Consu Springs project actually precedes me, and it's being done by Vine Associates. Our primary contact is Steve Lecco. He has approached me about asking the commission for input on the filing of the notice of intent. The items of work that are included are dredging of Goose Pond. It's going to be about 2,500 cubic yards. The installation of a storm scepter and 430 feet of 24-inch pipe down the corner of Orange to Union and discharging to Goose Pond right at the corner. And then the drainage channel that goes from Orange Street to the southerly end of the pond sets in constantly. So we're asking to install a storm scepter at Orange and then a 24-inch pipe that discharges to the end of Goose Pond. Lastly, there are two 18-inch pipes currently under the railroad bed, and we would like to replace that with a 3x2 culvert. The two 18-inch pipes are woefully undersized, and we don't get good turnover, which has caused some lubrication problems in the pond. We think that we will be able to renovate the pond with the dredging and with the installation of the 3x2 culvert. It will also allow the freshening of the water back to the tide. So I'm just here to basically ask for any input that you have for the filing of the notice of intent that I can give to Vine Associates.
Do we have a Phragmites issue down there?
Yes.
Yeah, huge.
Ongoing, yeah.
Well, and the
So-
dredging's going to be tricky. I mean, obviously, you have to know how you're going to dredge, where you're going to put the dredge. Spoils probably far away.
Yeah, especially if
Yeah.
it's, in the Phragmites area and things, and
They get
probably
the-
very full of nutrients.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it can't go anywhere
Yeah, it's
near
gonna have to go through
back
the
there.
composter.
But I think there's, recommendations for dredging projects through the Army Corps of Engineers and through DEP, has like a state, a protocol, but that'll be probably the trickiest, I would think, of all of that. The one that could cause, if it went badly, could cause the most amount of harm.
And as far as just the filing, I think, Jeff, you can probably,
Yeah, I don't think the technical, I think it was more of a question of, we haven't really seen a lot of projects of this nature before. If instead of having 80 public hearings, we keep asking for things, they kind of came in front of the board now and said, this is what we're intending on doing. Does anyone have any initial thoughts? So they can gather any information that takes more time for those things. Kind of an informal ask. We don't do these a lot, but sometimes they help.
It looks like they've got grade changes on here. How do you get water to the storm scepters? They work great when the water goes to them, so.
But, I mean, on projects, we often ask for Phragmites mitigation.
Oh, yeah.
And so is that something we want to address?
Yeah, definitely.
the town's been, I think, through
Yeah, I think there
through
already
Bruce Perry
is
and the land bank, they've been
something in
doing a lot
place.
of work on frag down in that whole area down there.
It's supposed to be a joint project, and I'm assuming the town is applying for the stuff that they can do, and I think the land bank's been working for,
A couple of years.
yeah, we've given them a permit, actually, yeah.
Okay, so before my time?
Maybe,
Maybe.
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, with redoing the movement of that little building. And
I guess the other question would be is, now that you have these materials, if you take a look at them, if you have specific questions, just forward them to me.
Okay.
Share them amongst yourselves and just send them to me. And I can, just landed in front of you.
Sylvia's going to be the one who's going to be overseeing the project, so get him in at the application.
Okay.
the actual soil testing data, go ahead and bring that, because I'll look at that closely.
So if this is now in the public domain, basically, I wondered if anybody else would like to see a copy of this.
Can it go up?
I can
on-
post it up on the website.
Okay. Okay.
Do we know when, how much time you need before we'll actually hear the formal?
They are working on the application at this point. I don't think you will see it before March. It'll take a while.
That's what I figured.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at the end of the meeting then.
Well, that was the one reason with bringing up public comment is it's kind of confusing with what's on or not on our hearing schedule.
Okay, so do I have a,
Oh, just one more thing. Next Wednesday, we are back to our regular schedule. We'll be back up.
okay, so our next meeting is the 5th of February. And,
You had a summary of the different open and issued permits for SBPF. Could you send that around to us? I think you gave it to the Board of Selectmen. I think that would be really helpful for everyone, since we have, I think, 5 different permits. Yeah.
okay, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody want to stay? Let's go. That motion carries
I'm
unanimously.
done by 5.
No kidding, there you go.
I like that part.
10 seconds, done by 14. Huh.